Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today we got to go over all these different crazy videos that are coming out of Aurora, Colorado, which is not far from Denver, Colorado, of Venezuelan prison gang Tren de Agua, or Aragua, I forgot what it is. TDA is what we'll call it throughout the course of this video, taking over various apartment complexes, committing a bunch of different violent crimes, because that is the new normal that the Biden administration invited into this country when he asked for asylum fraudsters to surge to the border, because that's who we are.
In fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression, you should come.
Now we're going to get into this, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay.
Earlier this week, we told you Aurora Police would be partnering with both the Colorado State Patrol and Colorado Bureau of Investigation to create a new task force aimed at dealing with the migrant gang problem. There have been shootings, other violent crimes, and apartment complexes reportedly taken over by a Venezuelan gang called Tren de Agua, or TDA for short.
So right here, you're getting a little bit of a summation of all these different various crimes that they are linking to this Venezuelan prison gang that has taken root in the United States of America. However, what they don't show you is this viral video that has been going around on twitter.com/it's called X now, which is the gangs in an apartment building, again being largely financed by taxpayers, with a bunch of guns, opening up a place because they completely run the joint.
If I told you this was happening in 2024, would you believe me? Let me tell you how crazy this is. In Aurora, Colorado, there's a Venezuelan gang that has taken over 2 apartment buildings. I kid you not. The landowner has contacted the local authorities. They said there's nothing they can do about it. That's SWAT laws, bro. I kid you not. Look this up. Number 2, he went to the FBI. They said there's nothing they can do. And he even went to the marshals, y'all. And this Venezuelan gang has taken over the apartment building. They're charging the tenants inside rent money like they're the landlords. Meanwhile, the real landlord can't get these people evicted. All the people that's leaving the apartment buildings, as soon as they leave, these Venezuelan gang members are just moving in more gang members to a point where they are taking over the building with guns.
Now, this segment has the audacity to blame, of all people, the people who own the apartment for allowing this to go on.
Well, I think the focus is on us right now is that, we've had some buildings that were fairly run down in pretty much the northwest part of the city. Seems like the pattern is out-of-state, use the term slumlords.
When the fact of the matter is, the city of Aurora, the city of Denver, the United States of America has been funneling billions of dollars worth of our tax money into these apartments, into abandoned hotels, into a bunch of different places in order to shelter these people, when in reality, we should not be doing so. We should be denying them entry at the border. But unfortunately, the Democratic Party has decided that anyone and everyone is welcome to defraud our asylum system, and different various sanctuary cities and sanctuary states will not only give these people ridiculous amounts in benefits, but they'll also cut from American citizens in order to do so.
It's no more security there. Like, look this up right now. And this is exactly what I was talking about like 2 weeks ago. Oh, not even 2 weeks ago, on a couple of my videos. This is what they want. Attack within. Y'all better stay safe. Y'all better stay safe. This is what they want. For the country to be attacked from within. Black people versus the brown people. Let them fight it out. You see what I'm saying? Y'all better stay safe. It's getting crazy out here.
Again, remember the Denver mayor, one city over, talking about how he was going to close parks, libraries, whatever he needs to do to make sure migrants get their welfare.
Let me just say I am incredibly proud of what this city has done and what our city employees have done over the last year. We know we have folks today that are in encampments who are migrants. We're paying careful attention to that. I also think it's important to note that over the last year, we have now welcomed more than 40,000 newcomers to this city. And if we're talking about 50 or 60 of them that are unhoused today, that means 99.9% of the folks who have shown up to this city in sandals and a t-shirt with no services and no support and no infrastructure, we have successfully integrated into the fabric of this country. This is a plan for shared sacrifice. This is what good people do in hard situations, as you try to manage a way to serve all of your values. Our values are we want to continue to be a city that does not have women and children out on the street in tents in 20-degree weather. And we also want to be a city that provides all of our constituents with the services they deserve and the services that they expect. We want to do both of those. We have to find a way to deliver shared sacrifice to try to manage those values in the road ahead. And so in terms of our first step on city cuts, we are announcing today we will make some changes both to our services at DMV and to our services on Parks and Rec.
And what makes this significantly worse is we actually had a policy in place during the previous presidency, the evil orange man's presidency, that I have called possibly the best immigration policy instituted in the United States of America in the last 30, 40, maybe even 50 years. And that, of course, is what is referred to as Remain in Mexico, which basically says you cannot pass through 6 different countries on your way to the United States and then claim asylum when you get here. If you are fleeing persecution and not an economic migrant, you don't get your first choice. You have to actually go through and apply for asylum in each and every nation along the way. This was ended during the Biden administration. They called it evil white racism. And instead of having these people apply in all these different nations, which by the way, would help us process the people who actually show up to the border in our country, all of these people pass through as economic migrants and, by the way, as criminals, sneaking in with these economic migrants, and now they're across our nation, sucking up tax dollars and committing crimes. And by the way, the border czar Kamala Harris, who denied that this was a problem along with Joe Biden for 3.5 years, are now suddenly blaming the evil orange man for killing an immigration bill that they threw together haphazardly that would supposedly address this issue.
And so the question has come up, and you heard it here, and you'll hear it again, I'm sure. It's why not visit the border? Why not see what Americans are seeing in this crisis?
Well, we are going to the border. We have to deal with what's happening at the border. There's no question about that. That's not a debatable point. But we have to understand that there's a reason people are arriving at our border and ask what is that reason, and then identify the problem so we can fix it.
But she was a total failure on this as well. She went to Guatemala to say, hey, stop sending your unaccompanied minors and stop sending people through here. But this was all a part of Biden's so-called Marshall Plan for Latin America, which of course didn't involve the right incentives in order to prevent this from happening.
We don't want, listen, I don't think that Americans want people to be exposed to harm if they can avoid it. They're taking the trek from the place that they know that they want to stay. So I'm here in Guatemala to say, what can we do to support people and to give them a sense of hope that help is on the way?
The administration looking to inject billions of dollars in aid to this region to help reduce that migrant surge. In April, nearly 180,000 migrants were apprehended by U.S. Border Patrol, the highest number in 20 years. And more unaccompanied migrant children come from Guatemala than anywhere else.
Now, wouldn't you be shocked that Kamala Harris going to Guatemala in order to address the root causes, the undergirding causes that make people want to leave in the first place, absolutely failed? This, of course, is a 3-year-old interview with Lester Holt in Guatemala, and obviously the migrants surging to the border did not slow down after this. Obviously, what you're supposed to do when you go to a country that is allowing not only their own people to leave, but other citizens from other countries to pass through their nation is tell them, look, we're going to cut you off financially. No more aid to your nation if you don't do something to stem the flow of people. And for all these countries that refuse to take their own criminals back via deportation, guess what? No aid for you either. And the strategy that we used with Mexico under the Trump administration was, if you're going to let these people pass through your nation, then we're going to start tariffing goods that come from your nation as a consequence for that. Again, I'm not a fan of tariffs as a mode of building an economy. I don't think that that is economically sound, but in order to use them as leverage against other nations that are undermining your nation, I think it is absolutely perfectly adequate to suggest that. And guess what? That gets these nations in line. Also, you got to go after Colombia. Venezuela is not sharing their data on criminals when they come to our border, but Colombia is the nation right next to them. They pass through Colombia as their first stop. And while Venezuela is going out of its way to buck the United States of America, if you say to Colombia, if you're not patrolling your border, if you're not working on this problem, if you can't get the information on these people from the Venezuelan government, we're also not going to aid you either. We're not teaming up with these governments that allow this trail of people to flood to our border, which disguises criminals and allows them to take over a bunch of different areas. Why would we want to import crime from another gang that is looking to be the next MS-13 in the United States of America? Obviously, we shouldn't. Obviously, we wouldn't want to, but the Biden administration is not willing to engage in any kind of policies, any kind of negotiations that would actually reduce and stem the flow of these migrants. On top of that, they hide in sanctuary cities for a reason. The places that refuse to deport them is where they're concentrating, building up their criminal empire, and I do not want, first of all, legitimate people that are fleeing these gangs from these countries to be at the mercy of them, but also American citizens who are already getting shortchanged in terms of their tax dollars by this whole situation to be killed, robbed, or abused by these foreigners who should have never been admitted into this country in the first place. Catch and release doesn't work. Giving them court dates 10 years out, disastrous policy. You need to remove these people from our nation. They are defrauding the asylum system. You need to protect the asylum system by actually forcing them to apply for asylum in all these different various countries where they would be eligible for asylum. And then, after you get through your 6 other options, then you can apply to the United States of America. But the fact is, your rejection in all of those places is likely due for a reason, and this will disincentivize people from actually trying to come and defraud our system.
Mayor Kaufman says the problem is when Venezuelans come across the southern U.S. border, the U.S. can't get their criminal backgrounds like they can with migrants from other countries. That means some violent criminals are settling here. But the question is, why do the problems seem more prevalent in Aurora than other parts of the metro area like Denver?
So like I said, the mayor of Aurora is blaming the slumlords. He's blaming Venezuela for not giving the background information and all of that. And while it is probably true that the state is appropriating money to these nonprofits and they're not spending it wisely, because who the hell is keeping track of this? The fact of the matter is, it's the federal government's fault for accepting these people without any information on them.
Venezuelans is taking over. They just jacked them? Oh, me. These is out here tripping. Bro, damn, they done made a mess.
Nigga, y'all are on bullshit out here. They is on bullshit.
Oh, what the yeah, they're tripping. They cracking off in the air and everything. They driving over the... We almost just got hit.
You know, there's a lot of talk about the Venezuelan government deliberately sending their criminals to the United States of America, and as I've discussed on this channel, that actually might not be the case. It might not be what's going on. It appears from what I can glean from Venezuelan news sources is that they are actually cracking down on these criminal organizations, and they're leaving of their own volition because we give them a way into our system where they not only can get into our country, but will actually subsidize them with various different welfare payments that we wouldn't give to our regular ordinary citizens. And by the way, even if the Venezuelan government isn't directly sending these people to the United States of America, they are making it extremely difficult for us to determine which are criminals and which aren't by failing to share their police records with us here in America. On top of that, they're also refusing deportations. And again, I say, if they're going to refuse deportations, sanction them. If they're going to refuse deportations, then start putting pressure on their neighbors to put pressure on them. Also, I'm not against when it comes to these criminal gang members getting an agreement together with Colombia where we deport them to Colombia and the Colombian military pushes them over the border into Venezuela. These are your criminals. This is your fault. This is your responsibility. And the fact that you think you can just shift these problems to us, again, whether you're directly sending your criminals or just creating incentives for them to go and making sure that we can't detect them on the border, that makes you an enemy of the United States and something that we need to watch out for, and obviously something that we need to adjudicate better. Look, a lot of people like to get bogged down in all the different complications and minutia of immigration policy, but the fact of the matter is, it's actually pretty straightforward. If you incentivize people to defraud the asylum system, you will get asylum fraud. If you're not screening for criminals and will not only subsidize them, but provide them a population which they can victimize as they build up their criminal empire, they are going to do so. If you allow all these different countries to essentially look the other way and let these people surge to your border, then they are going to do so. But you start introducing consequences for every country along the way that these people take to the United States of America, you will see a change. If you start enforcing policies like Remain in Mexico, then you're not going to get people flying into Mexico trying to come to the border from China, from Africa, and from all over the world like we're seeing right now. However, if you say for people to surge to the border as Joe Biden did, and I played that tape over and over and over again, so you know he said it, let me play it one more time.
In fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression, you should come.
That's exactly what you're going to get. And again, if you offer people a right to shelter, all these different various welfare benefits and protection from deportation, even when they commit crimes, which is what we're seeing in sanctuary cities and sanctuary states across the country, then you're going to get these people concentrated there. Again, all of these things are predictable consequences of bad U.S. government policy, and that policy has been put forward by the Biden administration, has been championed by Kamala Harris. So really, if you actually want to see this problem get solved, then probably you're going to have to look for different leadership. Look, the fact of the matter is that things are likely to get significantly worse before they get better, because one of the things that I also haven't mentioned is the fact that many of these sanctuary cities have either elected woke district attorneys or passed woke laws in order to go soft on the criminals. So we're in a situation where we have a deadly criminal organization setting up shop across this nation. They're extremely violent, and at the same time, we're providing welfare to them in the form of our tax dollars, a right to shelter, and all these different various things, while at the same time, we're lessening the consequences for the criminality that they are engaging in or plan to engage in, and this is just a recipe for absolute disaster. So yeah, something needs to be done right now. These people need to be removed from our nation right now. The fact that anybody on that surveillance video is still here at this moment is insane. The fact that they were let into this country is wild, but that's really where we are right now. And by the way, I know somebody's going to say, well, actually, Sean, when we look at the data and the studies, it turns out that illegal immigrants don't even commit that much crime. I mean, almost no departments in any state in the union measure immigration status upon arrest, so there's no way that data can be legitimate. On top of that, since Black Americans commit so much more crime than any other demographic, even if you're the second highest demographic in terms of crimes being committed, you're actually going to lower the crime rate by comparison. And what we're missing when we do this analysis and talk about crime rates, this or that, is that every crime committed by somebody who violated our border, who entered our country illegally, who shouldn't be here, is a crime that we could have prevented. It's a crime that should have never been committed. And that's what we're faced with right now. Not whether or not compared to Black Americans, they technically lower the crime rate, but whether or not we're going to accept as a consequence of our generosity and desire to give welfare to the entire third world, that these people are going to target and murder American citizens, steal from them, and commit all these different other various crimes in our nation. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. Maybe you're perfectly fine conceding all this territory to these migrant gangs, and if that's the case, enjoy voting for Harris and Tim Walz in November. If you like this video, then show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the disastrous immigration policy in our nation. Till next